The morning sun streamed through the tall windows of the riverside diner, casting long golden rectangles across the checkered linoleum floor. The air was thick with the smell of bacon grease, fresh coffee and maple syrup, the kind of comforting aroma that made this place a neighborhood institution for 43 years. Ceiling fans rotated lazily overhead, stirring the warm air just enough to make the paper napkins flutter in their chrome dispensers. It was a Saturday morning, 9:15, and the place was packed with the usual weekend crowd. Sarah Mitchell had been working at the Riverside for 6 years now. 28 years old with tired eyes that still managed to sparkle when she smiled, and calloused hands that had carried more plates than she could count. She was saving every penny for nursing school, working double shifts most days, surviving on coffee and determination. Her uniform was faded from too many washes. Her orthopedic shoes were held together with duct tape in places no one could see. But she never let her smile fade. Her regulars loved her for it. Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and standing up for what is right, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel, and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. Because stories like this remind us that karma exists, and it works faster than anyone expects. What Sarah did not know, what nobody in that diner knew, was that the corner booth by the window, the one with the cracked vinyl seats and the wobbly table, was occupied by 50 Hells Angels from the Phoenix chapter. They were dressed down today, no cuts, no patches, just jeans and plain t-shirts. They were on their way back from a charity run for a children's hospital, trying to grab a quiet breakfast before the long ride home. Most people in the diner had no idea who was sitting among them. The bell above the door jingled at 9:22. Brandon Wellington III walked in like he owned the place. 24 years old, slicked back hair, designer sunglasses pushed up on his forehead, a polo shirt with the collar popped, and a watch that cost more than most people made in a year. His father owned half the commercial real estate in the county, and Brandon had never worked a day in his life. Behind him trailed 2 friends cut from the same cloth, laughing too loud at something that was not funny. They took a booth near the center of the restaurant, snapping their fingers at Sarah as she passed with a full tray of plates. "Hey, sweetheart," Brandon called out, his voice dripping with condescension. 3 coffees, and make sure they are actually hot this time. Last place we went, the coffee was practically cold. Sarah balanced her tray with practiced ease. "I will be right with you, sir. Just let me deliver these orders first." Brandon rolled his eyes dramatically. See, this is the problem with places like this. No sense of priority. His friends laughed on cue. Sarah delivered her plates, took a deep breath, and walked over to their booth with a fresh pot of coffee and 3 mugs. She poured carefully, making sure each cup was filled to exactly the right level. "There you go, gentlemen. Fresh pot, nice and hot. Can I get you anything else to start?" Brandon picked up his mug, took 1 sip, and his face twisted into a mask of disgust. "This is supposed to be hot." He held the mug like it was contaminated. "This is barely warm. What kind of establishment is this?" Sarah kept her smile steady. "I am sorry, sir. I can brew a fresh pot if you would like. It will just take a few minutes." "A few minutes?" Brandon's voice rose loud enough for half the diner to hear. "I do not have a few minutes. I have places to be, people to see. Unlike you, I actually have a life." In the corner booth, 50 men in plain clothes went very, very still. Sarah took a breath. "Sir, I apologize for the inconvenience. Let me see what I can do." She turned to walk away. What happened next would change everything. Brandon stood up suddenly, grabbed Sarah's arm, and yanked her back toward him. When she stumbled, the coffee pot tilted, and a small splash of coffee landed on his designer polo. Brandon's face went red with rage. "You clumsy little nothing," he hissed. "You just ruined a $300 shirt." Before Sarah could respond, before she could apologize or explain that he was the one who grabbed her, Brandon picked up his full mug of coffee and threw it directly in her face. The diner went silent. Sarah screamed. The coffee was fresh from the pot, nearly 200 degrees. It hit her face, her neck, her chest. She fell backward, crashing into an empty table, cups and silverware scattering across the floor. Her hands flew to her face as she sobbed in agony, red welts already forming on her skin. Brandon laughed. "Maybe that will teach you to pay attention," he said, straightening his polo, Come on, boys, this place is beneath us anyway. He turned toward the door and found his path blocked by a wall of men. 50 Hell's Angels had risen from their seats as one. They stood shoulder to shoulder, arms crossed, faces carved from stone. They were not wearing their cuts, but there was something in their eyes, something ancient and implacable. That made Brandon's blood turn to ice. The largest of them stepped forward. His name was Marcus Stone. Road name, Hammer. President of the Phoenix chapter for 19 years. 6'5", 280 pounds, with hands like dinner plates and a voice like gravel grinding against steel. "Where do you think you're going, boy?" Marcus asked, his voice quiet but somehow filling the entire diner. Brandon tried to laugh it off. "Look, man, I do not want any trouble. Just having a little disagreement with the waitress. No big deal." Marcus tilted his head slowly. No big deal. He looked back at Sarah, who was being helped up by other patrons, her face an angry red, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You just threw boiling coffee in a woman's face because she was not fast enough for you. And you think that is no big deal." Brandon's friends were already backing toward the door, but they found their exit blocked by more men who had materialized from nowhere. "My father is Richard Wellington," Brandon stammered, his voice losing its arrogance. "He is very powerful in this town. You do not want to mess with me." Marcus smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "Your daddy is not here, boy. And neither is his money. Right now it is just you and 50 brothers who just watched you assault a woman who was doing nothing but her job." He stepped closer. "You know what we were doing this morning before we stopped here? We were visiting children with cancer, kids who are fighting for their lives every single day. Kids who smile through pain that would break grown men. And then we come here, and we see a spoiled little boy throw hot coffee at a working woman because he thinks he is better than everyone else." Brandon was shaking now. "Look, I will pay for her medical bills. I will pay her whatever she wants. Just let me go." Marcus shook his head slowly. "That is not how this works." He turned to one of his brothers. "Call an ambulance for Sarah. Make sure she gets the best care." Then he turned back to Brandon. "You are going to sit down. You are going to wait for the police. And you are going to tell them exactly what you did. Every detail. And if you try to lie, if you try to use your daddy's money to make this go away, we will know. We will find out. And we will have a very different conversation." Brandon's legs gave out. He collapsed into a booth, his designer clothes suddenly looking ridiculous, his arrogance shattered into 1,000 pieces. The police arrived 12 minutes later. The Hell's Angels had stayed, every single one of them, ready to give witness statements. 47 of them had recorded the incident on their phones from different angles. There was no way for Brandon to spin the story, no way for his father's lawyers to create reasonable doubt. Sarah was taken to the hospital with second-degree burns on her face and neck. But before the ambulance took her away, Marcus approached her stretcher. "You are going to be okay," he said softly. "And you are never going to have to worry about your medical bills or nursing school." He pressed a card into her hand. "When you are healed, you call this number. We take care of our own." Sarah looked at him through her tears, confused. "But I am not one of you." Marcus smiled, and this time there was warmth in it. "You are now." 3 weeks later, Sarah Mitchell received a certified letter. Inside was a check for $150,000 collected from Hell's Angels chapters across 4 states. A note was attached, signed by 50 names. It read simply, "For nursing school, we believe in you." Brandon Wellington III was convicted of aggravated assault. His father's lawyers could not save him. He served 18 months in county jail, and his trust fund was frozen pending a civil lawsuit that Sarah won easily. What would you do if you saw someone being abused in public? Would you look away? Would you make excuses? Or would you stand up? If this story touched you, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. Because we need more stories that remind us that justice exists, even when it comes from the most unexpected places. And comment below with the words "justice served" to show that you stand with Sarah. Because sometimes the people who look the most intimidating are the ones with the biggest hearts. And sometimes karma does not wait. Sometimes it is sitting right there at the next table watching everything. And when you least expect it, it stands up.